Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Oklahoma State Senate District 8 candidate debate. I'm Bronco Brad Nash, and I'll be co-moderating tonight's forum alongside Amber Lee Mordecai. We're honored to be here with you and at the Green Country Technology Center in Okmulgee, and we also welcome everyone joining us via the live stream. Tonight's debate is produced by the Henryetta and Oklahoma News Leader, with thanks to Editor-in-Chief Shell Jansen, and to our many local business and sponsors who support this event and make it possible. Let me briefly walk through you how tonight will go. Each candidate will begin with a 3-minute opening statement. After that, we will move into a series of moderated questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond per question. With time signals provided, at the end of the evening, each candidate will have 3 minutes for a closing statement. We ask everyone in attendance to remain courteous and throughout. Please hold applause and reactions until the end of the program to ensure a smooth and respectful conversation. Now, let's introduce the candidates running for Oklahoma State Senate District 8. Representing the Republican Party, Mr. Bryan Logan. Thanks for joining us tonight. Representing the Democratic Party, Mr. Nathan Brewer. Thank you for joining us tonight, sir. And representing the Independent Party, Steve Sanford. Thank you too, sir. We'll now begin with the opening statement. Each candidate will have 3 minutes. Mr. Logan, you may begin with your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bryan Logan. I'm the Republican nominee, born and raised in Okmulgee County. I've got my wife in the audience here, 2 children, 2 grandchildren, got a small farm, got a few small businesses over in Okmulgee County. Sit down the whole time. Sit down. A few businesses over in Okmulgee County. My background, I was a graduate of Career Tech. I sit on the Residential and Commercial Carpentry Board for Gordon Cooper Technology Center. Sit on American Farmers and Ranchers Insurance. I'm the local president, county president. I sit on the Construction Industry Board for the state of Oklahoma. I sit on the Oklahoma Building Inspectors Association, and general contractor, minister, pastored for 16 years, and love spending time with my grandkids. I normally don't get into the whole hobbies, but got a whole list of hobbies, and obviously when you're campaigning you have one hobby, and that's campaigning. So look forward to it tonight. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Okay, we'll move on to Nathan.
Hi, I'm Nathan Brewer, your Democrat candidate for Senate District 8. I moved to Henryetta 15 years ago from Arlington, Texas. OG&E is what brought me here to Oklahoma to install transmission power lines from Warner, Oklahoma to Seminole, Oklahoma. Other than the 3 years that I spent working in the power line business, for 16 years I've worked in general government. And what I'm talking about is working for cities and counties. I've done it all, from working in water lines to sewer lines, streets, trash, cemetery, dispatch, and volunteer fire department. I know how cities and counties work. I'm also a small business owner for the last 3 years. I own a parking lot maintenance business. We do everything from striping to seal coating to new asphalt to parking lot sweeping to power washing. I know how businesses are run. The reason why I'm running is because May 1st of 2023, my daughter was killed by a sex offender. That put a fire in me to change laws to protect our children and communities. Our young generation is the future of Oklahoma, and if we do not protect them, then who will?
Mr. Sanford?
Good evening. My name is Steve Sanford. I'm the independent candidate for the Senate seat. I graduated from high school in Henryetta, Oklahoma, born and raised right there. I spent most of my life driving trucks, and I went overseas and worked for 7 years with the military in Iraq. When I came home, I got married. My wife's right over there, and she allows me to do this crazy stuff. But I started my own business, Rustler's Barbecue, right there in Henryetta. And in that time, in those 9 years, I got more involved with my community. And what got me in all this was I started to try to save the house at Nichols Park, the caretaker's house. They were going to tear it down. I rallied the community to save it. And what I learned was if you want to make a difference, you put yourself in a place where you can. And I did, and I ran for our city council, and I have been the vice mayor for the last 2 years. I'm halfway through my term. I feel like I've had a positive influence on our city and the change in the last couple of years, and I would love to go forward and do more for our community and our district, and I think I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start our first question with you, Bryan, and that is, what specific steps would you take to strengthen the local economy in District 8 and attract new job opportunities to rural communities in our area?
First and foremost, you got to have, easier regulations for the businesses to develop here. This afternoon, I was actually thinking about this question in general and kind of thinking along the lines of making things marketable. You got to have something that's marketable for the district. You got to have something that is going to be attractive, something that's needful. And so we got to make regulations in a way that we can bring jobs here. And of course, bringing jobs here, you've got to have the things needed. You got to have the infrastructure. You got to have the roads. You got to have all the things that the community needs. I've said this from day one campaigning. You got to have community. Once you get community in place, it allows people. It attracts people. And when you start attracting people, there will be new job growth.
Okay, Nathan, the same question.
My thought on that is towns and cities need to make it easier if a business comes in and purchases a piece of property that is not a commercial property and they want to update it and convert it over to commercial property. The waiting period and the process needs to be quicker and easier, because for some businesses, they would not want to wait for that time period.
Okay, Mr. Sanford.
Question again, please.
What specific steps would you take to strengthen the local economy in District 8 and to attract new job opportunities to the rural communities in our area?
I think we need to get out there. Our location centrally on I-40 and the Turnpike coming up, we're in a great spot for a lot of industry to come to our area. We need to do more work trying to solicit them and bring them in and give incentives to come. On the other side of that, we just went to Pioneer Days in Okmulgee. We're a bunch of small towns in a rural district. We need to get to every town and find out what their strong points are and help grow them and see if we can develop it. Tourism is an excellent opportunity. The cruise nights, the car shows, these things bring people to spend money with our small businesses, which is what a lot of these small towns are. It's the little guys. It's guys like me and guys like Nathan that have a small business. If we can generate more people and bring them into our community, whether it be through a cruise night, it grows our economy and it really helps us out. And I think we need to kind of emphasize a little bit on the tourism and the small business and bringing people to town to spend their money with us.
Very good. Rural schools in District 8 face teacher shortages, outdated materials, and funding gaps. What concrete changes would you fight for in the state budget, and where do you propose that funding come from? Mr. Sanford.
Give me that one more time. It's a good one.
Oh, okay. Rural schools in District 8 face teacher shortages, outdated materials, and funding gaps. What concrete changes will you fight for in the state budget, and where do you propose the funding come from?
That's tough. Finding the funding is always going to be difficult, and your sales tax is a lot of, and property tax that funds that, the property tax. We have to make sure that we lean out the budget on the top and make sure the money's getting down to the bottom where it belongs. And that you attract more teachers, which feels you can better teach your students with a better quality of teacher if you're getting the money down to them. So I think we need to look through our administration and see if we can kind of make sure the money that's there, because I believe we are spending a lot of money on it. We just make sure it gets to the right place. Past that, I'm not really, it's a longer question than I'm ready for. It's a good one there. Basically, the funding, I think a lot of it is there, and we need to focus on making sure it gets to the teacher and make sure that we're at the same pay scale as the local states are. We have to be at the same pay scale to get a teacher to come and work with us So we have to make I'm trying to say it. You have to make sure that our pay scale is the same or level with the contingent states around us so that we attract a better teacher, so that we can teach our kids better. And then, like I said, the money, we have to work on our budget and find out if the money is making it down to where it belongs. I hope that helps us.
Mr. Logan? Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Rural schools in District 8 face teacher shortages, outdated materials, and funding gaps. What concrete changes will you fight for in the state budget, and where do you propose the funding come from?
Sure. So as far as the budget goes, I think the current legislators have done a great job over the last 6 years. Myself personally, we look at the budget increase for public education. They've done a great job of giving public education more and more money. We are faced with that in District 8. If you look at all the rural schools, Class B schools, you have a bunch of them. You go throughout Okmulgee County, Okmulgee County, even McIntosh County, we have a lot of Class B schools. And so I know this isn't going to directly answer that question, but I think the budget is there. I think it's the administration side. We've got to figure out a way, and I've said this a long time ago, back in November, I believe it was. I said, there's a morale issue a lot of times in the workforce as far as public education. We've got to have a morale from the top to the bottom. And so I'll echo what Mr. Sanford said. The money's there. We've got to figure out how to work that. And so saying that, I would say I'd be for guardrails. Obviously, the first thing that we'd like to do, not myself personally, but what we see is people will take and start scrapping the bottom anytime there's cuts, anytime there's needed cuts. And so we got to have guardrails in place to keep that from happening. And so I would put it back on the local schools, on the local administration, and say, hey, you've got to figure out how to draw these. And again, I'll go back to the first question. There's got to be an attraction there. There's got to be an attraction there. We've got to find teachers that want to be there, that want to teach, and then we got to work with the local school boards and administrations to figure out how to make it attractive.
What was the question again, if you don't mind?
Sure. Rural schools in District 8 face teacher shortages, outdated materials, and funding gaps. What concrete changes will you fight for the state budget, and where do you propose the funding come from?
Okay. The funding to come from, I think if we added a little extra to the license plate vehicle registration, I think that would be a very good thing. It wouldn't just, obviously District 8 would be the whole state. But I see that if we added a little extra, whether it be $5 per registration, then that would, obviously be able to add the gap for the extra funding.
We'll start with you, Nathan. District 8 has areas with aging infrastructure and poor road conditions. Roads and bridges in the district are crumbling, yet funding seems to disappear year after year. What will you do differently to bring infrastructure dollars home, and how will you ensure they're spent transparently? What infrastructure priorities would you fight for at the state capitol?
Well, that's a good question. Funding-wise, would have to look at the budget. If there's, obviously we all know there's a deficit, but hopefully with everything being dug up through Doge, that there would be some funding that can go back into streets and bridges and everything. So, but my biggest thing would be streets and bridges would be the biggest infrastructure. I know we have a lot of issues with streets around here, especially the small towns, where they don't have the budget to be able to fix the streets as well as the bridges.
Okay, Steve, you're...
Okay. I actually talked to some guys at the Aggregate Association, and our infrastructure statewide is in a lot better place than it used to be. We were ranked like 49th, and we're actually in, I think, the top 10 right now. And locally, sales tax is how cities pay for sales tax and your utilities, and it's not enough. And like I said, promoting the small, it's the same singular answer. I think if you fix one thing, you start to fix everything. and it's rebuilding a middle class with education and vocational training. We're running out of the more people we have that we can get into these middle class jobs, the more tax revenue we have, the more money we have to take care of the things that we need to take care of. It's kind of the one thing that fixes all. When we put our kids out there and prepare them to go on and make a better living in our state, they make more money and we generate more revenue to take care of the issues that we have.
Okay.
So I would say that we got to have a balanced budget, obviously, and I'll echo on that as well. When you have more people shopping in the district, I've said that from day one. You watch people go out of district to shop. You watch people that'll do all their shopping, come home, park in the garage, and then get up and go the next day. So you got to have a balanced budget on state level, and obviously you got to have good partnership, good relationships with those people that has the ability to help with the funding. And there's lots of opportunities out there. So not only do you have to have the balanced budget, but you got to look for opportunities to work with other entities that would be able to partner with the counties, with the cities, with the state. So I would say balanced budget first and foremost. And for that, you know, we all realize that there is a shortfall. And we realize that across the state there is aging infrastructure. We've known that. We see that. Sewer, water, bridges, roads, it's all dating infrastructure. So, you know, go back to the old analogy, how do you eat an elephant one piece at a time? So we got to have a comprehensive plan, start somewhere, but you start with a balanced budget.
You all brought up good points in us requiring attractions for both business and educators. How and what do you plan to do to get these attractions with a weakened workforce and a subpar housing structure to transplant workers? Mr. Brewer?
Try to bring in businesses that would attract other businesses as well as workers to the areas. That would kind of be the best starting point of it. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me.
Mr. Sanford?
Housing is a big problem, and on the city council, I talk to our people about, we have land. The city, we have to figure out a way to give an incentive for small communities to supply the land to get with contractors to build it. Like, I think Henryetta, we have 27 acres sitting empty trying to get someone to come into it. If we can make deals with contractors to build homes, because without the workforce, there's no point looking for the work. So we have to provide housing for them, and I think we have to get smart about how small rural areas use their available land and work on incentives from the government maybe to help us get housing and contractors in there to get the ball rolling to get people into our area to actually live and go to work.
Mr. Logan?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. You all brought up good points that we were requiring attractions to bring in businesses and educators. How and what do you plan to do to get these attractions with a weakened workforce and a subpar housing structure to transplant workers here?
So I'll go back to, years ago I was privileged. I went down to Shreveport, Louisiana, and they had a organization, kind of just a little thing. It's called Community Renewal, and I've often reflected back on that. It was a program that was designed to bring the community together. And so first and foremost, we've got to have community relationships. We've got to get back to community involvement, and you know, that's free. It is totally free for people to get back to community roots, get back to having, you know, block barbecues, whatever, get back to having events locally in your little communities, Shelter, Wilson, Payton, those little bitty places like that, Preston, having things back at the community. And when the community's thriving, and I'll say that again, when the community's doing great, it gives a reason for people to want to be there. People say, hey, let's go there, let's raise our family there. They look for a reason to purchase a home there. They start by purchasing land there. And so I would say, you know, the best, easiest, free thing we could do is get back to community involvement, get back to community relationships.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bryan, if this is going to be for you to start. What is your stance on funding local law enforcement and public safety measures, including communication and obvious handcuffing with the McGirt law?
So there's about 3 different questions there, if I'm understanding that right.
What is your stance on funding local law enforcement and public safety measures?
100%, we've got to fund them, we need them. So
So-
you look at District 8 and you look at the amount of municipality police forces, there's not a lot, so we rely heavily on the county. If you traveled any through most of the counties, the 5 counties here, you'll find that they're larger, lower population counties, and so we can see that it takes law enforcement, a lot of times local law enforcement, sometimes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes even greater response time. So absolutely, we cannot defund our law enforcement. We've got to have them. Second question was?
Yeah, so I think it's more, what's your thought on
Your
the
stance
McGirt law?
on the
Yeah,
law enforcement being handicapped with the McGirt law.
The law enforcement being handicapped?
with the McGirt.
Handcuffed, handicapped, yes.
I'll echo the words that local law enforcement has told me, both Okmulgee County, Okfuskee County, and Chief Hill. They've all said this to me. It's been a challenge, and I'm just using their words that it's been a challenge. Obviously, I'm not in law enforcement, so I can't answer to that. Just speaking on behalf of them, it has been a challenge. It was a challenge for the Creek Nation to get rolled out as much, cars, the enforcement that they needed, the resources. It's been a challenge all across the board. And like I said, again, I can't specifically answer for that because I'm not in law enforcement, so I'm answering on behalf of local law enforcement and the Creek Nation Tribe, Loud Horse.
Okay, Nathan?
Okay, I'm going to first start off with the funding for law enforcement. I've already got a bill in place, already written, ready to go day one when elected, that will bring funding to law enforcement as well as volunteer fire departments. So that will take care of that right there. And on the McGirt law, there doesn't need to be this desegregation between local cops and Creek Nation, the Indians. They all should work together, and that will take care of everything.
Steve?
I 100% support my first responders, and anything we can do for them, we should. As far as McGirt, I think Henryetta is one of the last ones. I think there's no way around what's happening. The best way to address it is to sit down together and work out something that works practically for everyone. There's a lot going on there, and we just have to come up with a plan, because it's not going to go away, and arguing isn't going to fix anything. And especially right here in Okmulgee County, we all grew up together, and this wasn't a thing. We were just friends and brothers and family. So we need to put the argument aside and sit down together and find something that works well for all of us, and we'll all benefit from it.
If elected, how do you plan to stay connected to the people in District 8 and ensure that their voices are heard? And we'll start with you, Mr. Sanford. You got the mic.
I'm tied to my community, and I'm not going anywhere. I don't ever, if I get elected, I'll probably be the only senator delivering barbecue. That's not going to stop. I will always be in touch with my community. That's what I'm running on. It matters to me what this district wants over anything else. I don't care. I'm going to ask you people. I'm going to find out how you feel about things, and we're going to take that up there. I'm not going to go up there and then let you know what I've done. We're going to figure out what we need to do, and I'm going to go do my best to make it happen.
Thank you. Mr. Logan?
I was fortunate to be connected to the community, the district, through agriculture, small business, and the ministry before I ever started campaigning. So I would continue doing those same things, plus continue campaigning. So during this campaign, we've touched probably over 6,000 doors, been down roads that nobody's campaigned on, knocked houses that most people wouldn't knock, and I would continue that same strategic plan.
Mr. Brewer?
Okay, on that, I've already got in the works to build a standalone building in Henryetta, which is almost pretty much the central spot. So when I'm not at the Capitol, constituents can come to me there and discuss their concerns and problems.
Thank you.
All right. This will start with you, Nathan. Many politicians promise to bring jobs and boost the local economy, but District 8 continues to struggle with underemployment and business closures. What specific industries or programs will you champion, and how will you ensure results, not just rhetoric, with the lack of workforce and housing?
Another tough question. I would like to see work programs brought back to schools. So, 17, 18-year-olds, 19, depending on their graduating status, can, go to school half-time and then go to work, because that, I think, would be really helpful for our communities around here. Now, bringing in jobs goes back to infrastructure, back again, needing places for businesses to come to. And that's where you go and, try to work on getting businesses to come to our towns and everything.
Okay, Steve. Many politicians promise to bring jobs and boost the local economy, but District 8 continues to struggle with underemployment and business closures. What specific industries or programs will you champion, and how will you ensure results, not just rhetoric?
Well, I think that I kind of touched on earlier. To bring industry, you need to find out what your strong points and your weak points are for every small town in this district. Transportation is a big thing. We need I can't promise they're going to come, but we can try to solicit to these people that distribution centers were ideal location for the nation for those kind of businesses. So we need to work also with our communities and find out what they offer. How can we expand or grow what they have and try to bring it to a market? So it's just finding out and getting with the Department of Commerce and find out. And we started that with the City Council, getting back in touch, trying to catch these RFPs, requests for proposals, to find out who's looking and try to get a hold of them and let them know that we have something that they need. So it's just it's the dedication of trying to find and solicit for the businesses that will work in our community.
You need me to repeat it?
No, I'm going to wing it. I think I remember.
Yeah.
So we've got to have homegrown. So I appreciate Career Tech, obviously OSU, Okmulgee, both of those. We got to have homegrown workers, skills, and we put those back into the community. So we've got to have a reason, and I'll also go back to what I said earlier. We've got to have a reason for people to stay in the community, bring their businesses here, start their businesses here, and not just start businesses here. And I watched that in my time at the City of Shawnee. I'd watch businesses come in because they would dangle a carrot and bring an incentive, and the business would come in, stay 2 or 3 years till the tax break left, and then they was out. And so if we can get those same students to come through Career Tech, and we can have a community that is attractive and have community and relationships, get them to start their business, grow their business, and stay in our communities. And so I would say we got to start with Career Tech, our colleges, and even our schools. As Nathan said, we got to educate them. And I'll go back again and say we've got to encourage the youth. It's a morale thing. We've got to encourage them that they can do the jobs for today and tomorrow. And like I said, train them, raise them, and get them prepared for the workforce.
Rural districts are often getting overlooked in favor of Oklahoma City and Tulsa. A couple of you already said the funding's there. So what do you plan to do to make sure we get our fair share of the funding and it stays here and we're not just a forgotten corner of the state? Start with you, Mr. Logan. You got it.
Well, obviously, if you're at the Capitol, you're going to be fighting tooth and toenail for the funds to make it back to your county, and I believe that's what we're there for. We campaign, in the district, so we figure out the needs in the district. And if when you're elected official, you better continue to go back to the district. You better listen to your county commissioners. You better listen to the all of those different organizations there, and then you go back to the Capitol and you fight for your people. And I know that may sound a little generic, but that's really what you got to do. You got to go up there and fight for the needs in your district.
Mr. Brewer?
So I would go and, like I said, or like Logan said, fight for your district and follow through with your county commissioners and your mayors, your town mayors, to make sure the funding has gotten back to them.
Mr. Sanford?
This is, in my opinion, you're going to learn, whoever gets to go, like I said, you got to put yourself in a spot where you can make a difference. So when we get up there, we're going to be the new guy. So you have to hustle and find out where the money's at and try your best to argue your point to why you need it in your district. So it's a hard one to answer because I haven't ran that machine yet. But I know when I get there, I'm going to be boots on the ground trying to figure out where it is and how to allocate the money that my district needs to help us grow.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so
I don't know. Early past.
You can keep the mic, Mr.
Yeah.
Take it right back.
you didn't give us that.
Yeah, it's on.
I was going to ask about this tax policy. So what changes, if any, would you propose to the Oklahoma's tax system, and how would those changes benefit or affect working families and small businesses? So Governor has proposed half and a path. I'm sure you've read that, the House Bill 1539. Are you opposed to that? Are you in favor of that? Have you read on that? Cutting the taxes and then making a path to lead to eventually more cutting of taxes. Because a lot of the things that are being, answers being given today are, we need to do taxes and we need to move the taxes. But would you be in favor of the half and a path?
It's hard. I mean, no one wants to come up here and say you need to raise taxes. And I don't know that you need to, I mean, yes, we all of us, nobody wants to pay them, but some things are necessary. And like right now, we're trying to get more funding so that we can grow our vocational training for these kids. Sometimes you have to spend the money because when you spend that money, it's a benefit for your state to make more money, to more revenue, and then you can kind of lay back on it. But I don't think if you have an overage or a surplus 1 year that you automatically take that away. I mean, we all want it to happen, we do. But if you start cutting that tax, then what do you do if you cut too much too quick? I don't want to increase the taxes at all. But before you start drawing it back, let's make sure we got good coverage and we're going in the right direction to get our kids educated and get them out there working so that our state can do better and grow. Then we start working that plan down. But yeah, I'm all for it. If we can ease off of it and still maintain, by all means, yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
They didn't give us an order on this, sorry.
So, absolutely. I have not, first and foremost, I have not read the bill to know the exact language. Again, are we for tax cuts? Yes, everybody would like a tax break. I'll say this, make it quick. I'm for tax cuts with guardrails.
I, again, have not been able to read the bill. But I'm a taxpayer just like everybody else in this room and sitting up here is. So I don't want to raise the taxes unless I absolutely have to if it needs to be done.
Thank you.
What measures would you support to improve transparency, reduce corruption, and ensure elected officials are held accountable to the public? Mr. Brewer?
Would have to do some, obviously, digging if there is corruption in anywhere, in District 8. You'd have to do some investigation, digging up, figuring out what needs to be done, and then if that person or persons have done any wrong, then they need to be held accountable for that.
Mr. Logan?
So as far as being transparent, as long as you're being open and honest and got that good relationship with your district, that's your transparency. As far as everybody else being transparent, it's going to be hard to validate that. There's so many ways now. People's more engaged, it seems like. I feel like there's a lot of great opportunities, and man, if you get on the internet, it's a dangerous place. You get on social media, it's a dangerous place. So most of the people that want to know is engaged, and there is a lot of transparency. And this may be a dagger, but with more transparency and more people doing a lot of research, you get people involved. But like I said, as far as me specifically, I can't answer, for Steve Sanford's business. I can only answer for my business. And for me to be transparent and just to be open and serve with integrity and be responsive, respond, communicate back to the district. So I don't know if that exactly answers the question wholeheartedly, but I feel like we are more transparent than we ever have been. Ethics reports, like I said, there's so many different organizations out there that if you're looking for information, they have it.
Thank you. Mr. Sanford?
Transparency is key. You shouldn't have to worry what people are doing that are representing you, and they should be held accountable if they're doing anything that's not true and honest. The short answer is transparency. I need to see what you're doing, and it should be easy for anybody in the state of Oklahoma to be able to go and see what's happening. And I think, like I said, for the most part, it is. I get a lot of emails from the House and what they're doing in the bills, but we need to be transparent, and our politicians need to be held accountable just like everyone else. You do what's right, and if you don't, you have to pay for it.
Thank you.
Excellent. You can keep it, Steve. So these are community-based questions from local citizens. So I'm just going to read off what it has here. It says, college is expensive, and a lot of my friends drop out because they just can't afford it. What are you going to do to make education more affordable and accessible for Oklahoma students?
Yeah, thanks. I got the whole student loan thing, that affected me pretty good. I had excessive penalties. I had a truck wreck, crushed my leg, couldn't make the payments, and when I went to work overseas, you work for the government, they find you. And what was started out at about $12,000 ended up me paying back $32,000. I think the biggest problem with the guaranteed loan and making it not affordable for a student to even take that loan is the predatory interest rates, the way they nail you on the end. There needs to be something in there that doesn't let that thing grow. There's so many people that make a payment on a student loan that 10 years later still almost owe the same amount of money on it. So we have to do something with our banking and loans that people aren't just beat up and can't pay it back. And I think that would help greatly in making it more affordable, and it might even help lower the cost in doing it as well.
Okay, well, yeah.
So I think this goes back all the way into high school as far as, we have counselors that try to lead and direct and figure out paths, figure out school skill sets for the children, for the youth, and not to exclude the adult path of college. But I feel like there's a lot of opportunities right now, and always has been, as far as people that truly, so what I've witnessed down through, I've seen in my lifetime, people that I was friends with or familiar with, is they wasn't exactly sure which career path they wanted to go down. They would just start and change major 2 or 3 times. And so I feel like personally, as far as making it easier, I feel like it's easy. I feel like there's enough different opportunities there now. And so to sit back and say we need to throw more money, more opportunities, I'd say that it's pretty easy right now as it is.
I would work with the state senators that represent us at the federal level and D.C. and try to get funding from federal funding as grants for students.
This question comes from a small business owner in Dustin. We don't need handouts. We need customers and support. What are you going to do to revitalize small town main streets and help our businesses compete against Walmart and Amazon? Ms. Brewer, go ahead.
Well, I think that would go back to infrastructure, streets, having streets done, where people will want to come to Main Street or main streets, and having, but also having more businesses like the Henryettan that you can be able to put out information on and get your business out there.
Mr. Logan?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. We don't need handouts. We need customers and support. What are you going to do to revitalize small town main streets and help our businesses compete against Walmart and Amazon?
I guess force everybody to shop at that person's place of business.
And how are you going to do that, sir?
That's a great question. That's a tough question because, again, they have to have a great product. And so you've got to have a great product, whether that's small town America. You got to be able to compete, but you got to make a great product. So that is a really tough question because you can't force anybody to shop somewhere they don't feel like shopping, and we've witnessed that. So I would say, it kind of goes back again. You make your communities great. You make it a place that they want to be, that they want to shop. You make it user friendly, and again, we've got to have products, but we got to have good products, and it's got to be marketable.
He's right. The only thing you really could do with a small business, and the state needs a small business because they collect the sales tax revenue that helps pay for the state. So you don't want anybody to fail. And like I said, you can't guarantee their product. The only thing you probably could do is maybe try to figure out a way to help them market their product. And I don't know how, you'd have to figure out what that costs to do. But if you're in Dustin in the middle of nowhere and you have a product that's good, we want you to succeed. So because we want you to be collecting sales tax revenue. So if it's an affordable, maybe some kind of a packet or handout when they file for their tax number and all that stuff, you give them something that kind of helps a guideline on, listen, this is how to market your product, or these are things you can do to help you succeed. Maybe some kind of just a little tutelage there to show them, do these things here, and it may help you have a chance to succeed and make more and compete against the other guys.
Where was that person from?
Dustin.
That's Hughes County. Tell them to, Hughes County, but they must obviously live in a different part of the county. So, if their business is in Dustin, though,
If it's on the north side.
He must be very interested in, he must have got some of your mail on accident.
Okay, so Oklahoma has set aside $9 billion for highway improvements, but most of these projects, if you looked at the ODOT map, are near bigger cities, larger towns. So what I'm wondering is, what are your ideas for obtaining extra funding or grants for the small rural areas of District 8? So how are we going to get our part of this $9 billion? That's, Steve had it last. I guess that's how we're back and forth, yeah.
So this is kind of a similar question to what we had earlier. Again, you have, you got to work, you got to have the availability to, communicate, whether that's through the Commerce Department, educating your county commissioners, educating those different state entities, whoever it may be, whether that's ODOT, whether that's local. You got to be able to educate them for the opportunities, because again, there is opportunities. And then, as a state senator, you got to go up there and fight for your district. And we see that. We see that the metropolitan areas, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, is going to do a lot of fighting for theirs. So we've got to be there to fight for our district as well, and try to just, get in the fight, educate them for the opportunities.
Nathan, thank you.
You're welcome. I would fight tooth and nail to get the funding or portions of the funding to District 8, because District 8 needs it just as well as Oklahoma City and Tulsa and the surrounding areas. I mean, we all need it. So I'd fight tooth and nail to get it brought down to District 8.
When you talk about that money, they're going to go towards what has the most traffic count and fix that first. And it's kind of a trickle down from there. And I think all you can do is you can go up there and you can argue your point. And a lot of times the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Maybe it is that we rally our district and we all, put a campaign together and hey, let's all start contacting, let's let them know. And maybe that, what can you do other than argue the fact that you need this road fixed? But if you have your whole district calling in and you can get your people together, a group has a lot more power than a single person, even if it is a senator. So if you have your community and you can get you guys to help us call in, let's let them know that we need this done. Past that, other than, like I said, to going up there and arguing that your road is just as important as theirs, like I said, more people talking about it is a better chance of getting it done. Yeah, I did that the last time.
A lot of this funding is just there by raising your hand, and in the municipalities. Would you spend any time educating the different city councils on how to apply for this, because it's going unspoken for.
Yes, very much so. That as a city council member here in Henryetta, I'm not on the OWRB. They're actively looking for grants and stuff. But I think one of the bonuses of moving up further is the contacts you make and the things that you find out are more available that could be actually applied in this district, so that you could actually send it along. Like, down here in Walika, they need this, and this fits. I would love to be the guy that goes up there and tries to find and allocate the things that our communities need and get it to them and help them get it squared away, because it just betters all of us to do that. Yeah, I would love to be that guy.
Mr. Logan?
Yes, sir. I've always considered myself a person. Matter of fact, and I told my wife a couple of years ago, she asked me why I still continue to serve on 5 different boards. I said, I love networking. I love being able to, plug in the places, plug in the people. And so absolutely that would be part of the job. You want to be an ear, and you also want to be a voice back and forth. So absolutely, yes.
Mr. Brewer?
What was the question again?
Sorry. Well, a lot of the funding that's out there is just merely raising your hand, and it's for the different this is my own question, so you would think I'd know how to pronounce the word. But the city level and the city councils
Municipality.
are letting this money just sit there, and they're not going after it, and it's just not being used. Would you help assist and train these?
Yes, I would love to go to town and talk to every mayor and council members and let them know what and how to be able to get that funding, whether it be through a grant or, just filling out paperwork and, writing it the right way to get the money to come in.
Thank you.
Have time for more?
Mr. Logan, you mentioned earlier that training these kids is essential to get them inspired to do jobs coming forward. And I totally agree. To thrive in the workplace. However, I ask again, because once they get this, if we do not give them somewhere to thrive, they are going to leave our corner of Oklahoma and go to Oklahoma City, Tulsa, or even out of state. If they have any ambition at all, if we don't have places for them to grow. So again, I ask, exactly what are our plans to entice companies to come in here and have jobs for these kids that we're going to groom, that they can occupy?
I disagree with you on that, because you have a man that's got his business at Stade, you got a man that has several businesses at Stade, and you got a man that has a business at Stade. And so I don't have a reason to leave District 8. I started here and I plan on staying here. I started my business there, and I'm going to keep my business there because that's home, because that's where I want to be. And so, as far as looking for reasons to keep people, you got to make it marketable. You got to have attractions. You got to have the infrastructure. You got to have everything there. But to say that people's going to leave, I disagree with that, because there's 3 men sitting on this stage that started businesses and stayed. So I hope that answers that.
So your answer is they start businesses?
Those skill sets that we are sending them for Career Tech, that is exactly what it's for. That's, I would assume that they're either starting business or they're going to work, but the end goal should be to, I answered this question years ago, and it might have come across as a little arrogant, but the guy asked me, said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And jokingly, I said, well, I hope to be, in your position. And so anybody that starts off that has a dream as a plumber, electrician, welder, I would say that they're probably, their end goal should be to go as high as they can. And so to say that they're going to leave the district is what I disagree with. I don't think everybody that goes through Green Country Career Tech is looking for a reason to leave automatically. And like I said, I'm a prime example, and I believe these other men are as well. And so again, we've got to have things marketable. We got to have things, and I could say that about, if you looked at healthcare, if you looked at market, you got to have something there for them. How do you create jobs for those people to stay? That's a difficult question to answer for a guy that because you're putting that responsibility on somebody that possibly didn't come through Green Country, didn't come through OSU, Okmulgee. So my dad was a product of OSU Okmulgee. He came down here and he retired as an electrical contractor in district, stayed the whole time. Again, it's kind of the same answer. You got to make it marketable. You got to have good infrastructure. You got to have things there. But as far as what's going to, you can't keep somebody from leaving if they want to leave. As far as that, and like I said, that, and I know that's kind of a roundabout way of answering that, but once you create the position, you got to have somebody there to create jobs. It's got to be somebody that's, entrepreneur, somebody that wants to be here. Like I said, we can create 1,000 jobs, but if somebody don't want to be here in district, you can't keep them here. And so, I commend people like these men on the stage that have started businesses here and gave opportunities to youth and to people that was without job. And so, at the end of the day, I've seen people do that. And every job that I've been in, I had somebody come to me one day, my administrative assistant come to me crying. She gave 33 years or so, 34 years, come to me crying and said she didn't want to leave because she didn't want to leave me high and dry. And I told her she put in her time. And so you make that job available, and that's really all you can do. But if somebody wants to better themselves, who am I to say that they can't better themselves if you give them that opportunity?
Steve.
Oh, okay. The question was, how do you attract them or keep them?
No, once they have that skill set, how do you attract the businesses for them to have that job?
Okay. I think it's quality of life. What are you offering in your small community? I think like our district is mostly, Okmulgee is your biggest town in the district, and we are in almost any direction from right here 45 minutes from a major city. So we're close enough that anybody can go out and do anything. So I think to attract a business here to provide the jobs for the kids we're training is they're looking at housing, which we all know that's an issue and we need to work on. But we're looking at our school systems, our vocational training, our parks, our recreation. So we have to do our best in the small communities to give them, like when I drove over the road, when I stopped for the night, I looked for the fuel stop, the shower, the restaurant. I want it all in one spot. So you want to make sure that you're trying to provide everything close to you that will bring them in there. We have the location that's perfect right here in our district. We're in a great spot for business to grow. Like in Henryetta, we have Nichols Park. It's 500 acres of just about anything you want to do, and we're working on doing that. So I think we get with our districts and our towns and we figure out what are your shining spots and how can we make them better to get more people to want to relocate and build a business and grow in your area. So I think it's the things that go along with it that bring people in.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
Well, I would say like Green Country, like your HVAC program, get businesses to have incentives to when the students graduate that they automatically have a job with that business, whether it be several businesses, and then work with that company to put an office in Okmulgee or Henryetta or Okemah to so when they come out of here they automatically have a job and they go directly to that office.
Thank you.
Okay. So, due to the recent DOGE budget cuts, there was a stall in mental health funding. I'm sure that you guys have heard about that, or I hope so. After they get this taken care of and they release funding again, what is your stance on mental health and funding and in communities and Nathan?
Well, that's a great question because I've already got a bill to bring funding to rural mental health because our rural communities need mental health. So I've already got a bill that would address that when elected.
Do you want to explain more on that? Do you have any points of
I can explain a little bit. I
interest?
know from a legal standpoint I can't until I get elected because then it's got to go through legal to make sure everything's legal before it's out in the public. But it would pretty much bring more mental health facilities to the rural areas, or at least a mental health facility to District 8.
Can you repeat the question?
So basically, it's what's your stance on mental health? Funding, bringing it to District 8, more funding for that.
Sure. As far as funding-wise, yeah, absolutely. It can't be neglected. There is a lot of issues, and especially Okmulgee County. At one time, we was the highest population as far as mental health goes. We had several different facilities there, still have several. But as far as mental health in general, there has to be funding for it. To answer that specific, I'd have to look more at the budget and be involved in that at this point. Budget-wise, not as savvy, with what needs to be budgeted there, but absolutely.
We definitely need to take care of those people that can't take care of themselves. It's a must, and there's no way around it. We need to take care of them. And the few people that I've talked to, I think the funding is, Medicaid is a major issue. During COVID, the amount they were being paid, their wages, everything went up so we could get people to work. Medicaid didn't really come up with it, so they're having trouble funding these mental facilities. And like I said, once again, we have to go through there and figure out where that money's at, because we have to get it to them, because we have to have them. And if they can make a better profit, or at a minimum pay for to keep enough people and staff, we have a better chance of keeping the facilities that we have and possibly growing more facilities. But it definitely is something that really needs to be taken care of.
A retired teacher in Henryetta asked this question, and you've all touched on it some, but more in depth. After 30 years in the classroom, I'm watching my grandkids' schools struggle even worse than we did in the 90s. What exactly what would you do that would actually help public school kids and teachers right here in our small towns?
The kid is struggling.
After 30 years in the classroom, she's watching her grandkids struggle even worse than they did in the 90s. What will you do that will actually help public school kids and their teachers right here in our small towns?
I think another issue that's, I don't know, about 30, the whole COVID thing, it shut us all down for a couple of years, and our social skills have kind of fallen back. I think that we kind of need to get back to the basics and take care of these kids and get them with a little more hands-on, a little more, get the phone away from them and get them where they can actually use your hands, talk, and have your skills. In my restaurant, it is so hard to the kids to get them to, it's a barrier for them to be open and talk to customers, and we really have to take our time with them to get them functioning good with everybody. So I think we need to start young and work with these kids and work on our social skills, and I think that will help us a long way in doing better in class with the teachers and the kids.
Mr. Logan?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. This is from a retired teacher in Henryetta. She asked, after 30 years in the classroom, I'm watching my grandkids' schools struggle even worse than we did in the 90s. What will you do that actually helps public school kids and teachers right here in our small towns?
You got to continue to fund them as is being done. And like I said, as far as the record goes, there's been more funding sent to public education in the last 6 years than in several years. And so, with continuing to fund those, myself personally, you could educate people, you could try to get people involved, school boards. School boards is where it's at. You've got to get people educated. You got to get people that want to serve on those to make a difference. And, you kind of said it, we've already kind of hit on that, but it's a morale issue. So if you get people on those school board seats that want to see their schools improve, that's, to me, it's kind of their job as a school board to oversee the administration side. Oversees the school. And so budget would be the biggest thing. We've got a budget for it, but outside of that, it's kind of on the school boards and the administration, how that school is ran. And that may come across a little harsh as well, but we leave it in their hands to the elected officials as far as school board goes.
Mr. Brewer?
We need to continue getting the fundings for the schools and not stop funding for the schools and just keep doing it. I think we're on the right track on it. We just got to keep plugging away.
So I have a follow-up question to that. and you can go in order, but do you guys have an opinion on bringing the funding to Oklahoma and letting our government disperse that? Because right now, the federal government disperses a fair share of that, and they decide what programs, and that we have to get approval for those. What's your thought on bringing that here?
So I guess you're asking about them shutting down the federal education department and making it where each state has to disperse their money?
Yeah.
Is that, okay. Well, obviously, we've got to have the right people in place as state superintendent to be able to make the right decisions, as well as their board members to make the right decisions to appropriate the funds correctly to each school district.
I would absolutely support dissolving on the federal level and handing it over to the state of Oklahoma. I feel like the state of Oklahoma could do a better job. Each state is a little different, especially for the needs, and so I would definitely put it in the hands of the state of Oklahoma to.
Maybe I misunderstood the first question. I thought we were talking about education deteriorating and how we could work with the students to better them as they came on up. Yeah, by all means, we could take the money and skip the federal, but we have to put people in place to make sure it's going to the right place and actually getting down to where it needs to be for the students and the teachers to make a difference.
This is from a young farmer near Okmulgee. My family farm is barely surviving. Fuel prices, supply costs, and land taxes are killing us. What's your plan to help young people like me stay in farming and not lose our way of life? Mr. Sanford?
The tax thing's getting me too. I feel like it's like jumped a lot in the last couple of years. I think fuel price. The more we work, I think the better the fuel prices will be. I don't know how to fix it. Like I said, I don't know what he's farming. Yeah, and I think it makes a difference on what he's producing and what he's selling. But I mean, the property taxes, land tax, they've grown a lot, and it's difficult now. And we need to look at see if we can maybe figure out why it's settling that down a little bit. And I know that's where we gain our revenue from, but it's a lot on somebody. I don't know how past that. Like I said, fuel prices are up and down. I think they're going to come down for us here hopefully soon, and that would make a difference for them. But I can't regulate that. I don't know how I can fix that for them. I really don't.
Mr. Logan?
Yeah, that's a tough one. As a farmer, being a small cow-calf operation, it is very tough to survive. Currently, the prices of cattle is up, and that's always great, but it always means a lot of things. So for the last several years, we've been paying a premium on fuel, net wrap, things of that. Your feed, everything's went up, and I think it's affecting every industry, not just agriculture. It's affected us all. To have a magic wand to say how he's going to survive, would be a tough one to answer at this particular time. Most farmers would tell you this: ride it out. It's bound to get better at some point, because it is tough, because people's going out, and again, without knowing his situation, it'd be hard for me to answer this, but a lot of people want to get involved, and when you're looking at paying $4,000 to $7,000 an acre, and you're running anywhere from 1 cow to 10 acres, it's hard to survive for anybody, and it's going to continue to get harder. And boy, you could list a lot of things that's caused that. It could be housing developments. It could be the use of the land use changing for different reasons. But people's buying up parcels and turning it in. I mean, I could go on, but really, I don't have a specific answer for him. When you talk about real estate, people's buying up land, reselling it, subdividing it, and you got all these big time deer hunters that's coming in, and I'm a deer hunter, but if anybody wants to allow somebody to deer hunt, I'm a deer hunter, I believe in it. But when they're taking leases and they're going in and they're paying $40, $50 an acre for a lease, and they're keeping the cattleman out and they're keeping the ag producers out, where back in the day, and I know I'm rambling, so I'm going to make it quick, there's no way of really, without knowing his the specifics of his farm, what he's producing, what he has, it's tough on everybody. the price of a tractor, the price of fuel, the price of truck. So my advice on that would be, know your budget. Don't go out and buy a brand new $120,000 tractor, depending on your acreage and depending on how much you're producing. So, but we're all facing that. Like I said, any farmer, anybody that's trying, and I've preached this for a long time, anybody trying to get into it right now is facing those same hurdles because of the land price, not just the inflation prices. And I've witnessed it. People want to go out and buy a brand new truck, brand new tractor, brand new baler, brand new trailer. They want to mortgage, 40, 50, 80, 200 head of cows. And so the short answer to that's tough on all of us. Ride it out would be my answer to him.
And gentlemen, feel free to ramble a little bit. We haven't needed this stopwatch all night.
Well, I'm going to have to go back and agree with these guys without knowing exactly what he's farming. It's a hard question to answer. But I will agree
Peanuts.
that
I just thought I'd throw something out, maybe it'd help you. Peanuts.
That property tax has quadrupled for me in the last several years, and I think it's pretty sure for everybody. So it's a tough one. It all depends on what he's farming. I'm going to go with Logan and say stick with it.
Can I say something?
Sure.
It's no different for me either. I'm not a farmer. I'm a restaurant owner. It's been hard for everybody for me, especially the last 4 years. If I hadn't went outside and figured out another way to make money, I would have closed my doors last year. We got lucky that Cactus Drilling called us and we get to cater to them. I would not be here today with a restaurant if it hadn't been for that. It's your work ethic. You have to hustle in today's economy to try to figure out how you're going to make it. Whether you're a farmer, a restaurant owner, it doesn't matter. You have to dig in and get after it. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. I think in 4 years' time, we're just now starting to see a little bit of an uptick in our business. And I think that's hopefully, if I see it, we all see it. That's usually how it kind of works. It's been hard for everybody. I spend too much money a week hoping I make it back at the end of the day. It's hard for everybody, not just him. It's all of us. And you have to dig in and get after it and do whatever you can to make it. That's what we're doing.
Thank you, Steve. I feel like this question, me and my friends have been asking each other quite a bit. You get to a certain age and you start to wonder. But it said, I served my time, paid my taxes, and now I'm struggling to afford medicine and utilities. What will you do to protect seniors and make retirement livable in small towns like mine?
I think that by the time you retire, I think property tax should go away for you. I know some people might not like that, but you shouldn't have to worry about losing what you own and paid for your whole life because you can't make a property tax. And if you took that money away from paying a property tax for someone who's retired on a fixed income and they could put that money back into their cost of living, they stand a better chance of making it. I mean, that's the first and foremost for me. I think we figure out a way that we do away with that. And I know it's probably a pretty good chunk of money, but it's not fair to fight your whole life for something and then lose it.
Bryan.
Absolutely. I would support the bill, 65 years, of age, doing away with property tax. Because of that very reason, I've made that statement several times. At 65 years old, people's trying to retire. They're not traveling as much. They're not going as much. Most people, unfortunately, are probably taking on some prescriptions that they didn't have prior to that age. So with that being said, absolutely, if we could do away with property tax at 65, I would fully support that.
Well, at 65, you already get free driver's license, so I would support it as well. But the question is, I think if they don't have a property and they're renting, I would like to see somewhere in District 8 I guess let's say a state-funded retirement center come in that would be able to help that.
Okay, thank you.
This is from a public. It's from a public school bus driver. I see kids every morning who haven't eaten or have no jacket in the winter. What will you do to make sure the state takes better care of our most vulnerable children? Mr. Brewer?
Well, that's a tough one. I would like to see packets in schools. I know Henryetta does it. I'm pretty sure maybe other school districts do it. On last day of the week, they send home, they call it a goodie bag.
So those are privately funded. It's not state funded.
So anyways, I'd like to see that, but obviously the funding would be a key there on that, but I would like to see that.
Very good program.
I would like to see it continue to be privately funded. It's hard to see and it's hard to watch, but there's a lot of organizations, and we'll go back to community. I know Farm Bureau's involved really good with backpacks and different programs. It's Farm Bureau. They're doing a great job, food bank, backpacks. And so, again, we look at different organizations. There's things out there. So I'd hate to put all the burden on raising children on the state of Oklahoma. I think that burden needs to be on the parents. And again, you have different organizations that's willing to help. And so I would encourage that relationship and allow those different organizations and take that burden off the state. I don't think it needs to be on the state.
I agree. We do our best to make sure we give everybody that needs a good lunch, and then we work with our community to try to take care of the rest as best we can. There is no easy fix or no fast fix to what we need to do. And it's, when I grew up in Henryetta, Oklahoma, we had industry, we had middle class, and it was a great town. And my restaurant is probably one of the better paying jobs in town. And it's sad that I say that. You get past Anchor Glass, it's hard to make it. And we've lost a lot of our middle class jobs. And like I said, and I was talking earlier, when it comes to the technicians that I hire to work on my store or my house, they're my age or older, and we're losing them. There is no fast fix to what's wrong with our state and our district. It's going to take time. It's how long do we wait till we step on there and get these kids trained and get them up and we remedy this problem. We have to help as much as we can, whether it be private, all of us pulling together to help our families in our small towns. But if we don't get on ball and get these kids trained up and get our middle class back, this will just be reoccurring. So we have to dig in and get our kids trained up and get our middle class back.
Okay, so we've touched on this a few times, but this question from a high school senior is asking more of a pointed vision. So I want to stay here in Oklahoma, but I don't see many opportunities here after graduation. What would you actually say to this kid to make him want to stay if he's wanting to leave state? Because they automatically assume there's nothing here for them. Okay, what would you actually say? Well,
I think there's a lot of opportunity in Oklahoma. Like oil and gas alone. One of one of my employees is going to Okmulgee Tech for natural gas. He's probably going to have a job before he gets out. It depends on what this kid wants to do. But, we're a leader in aerospace, oil and gas. There's distribution. There's all kinds of jobs. We just have to make that connection with those kids and let them know this is what Oklahoma has available for you. This is what it pays. You can leave here with maybe a year or two in training and go right to work and be in the $70,000 to $90,000 range. The jobs are here. We just have to make sure we educate them on what's available for them and try our best to make it available through school to get them running in the right direction.
Bryan.
I feel like we're regurgitating the same answers, and I'm going to regurgitate it again and say, without knowing what his, what he's wanting to do, what his area of expertise, what his hobbies are, what his interest is, it'd be hard to answer that question. But I'll second what Steve said and said, there's a lot of opportunities here. Not knowing what he wants to be, I guess if he's looking for a desert or a, oasis, a beach, maybe he wants to be a lifeguard, be a little tough. If he's wanting to work, offshore. So be a little hard, but I do think there's opportunities here. Again, as far as regurgitating, you make things, you give them the training they need, you give them the knowledge they need, you give them the resources, and outside of that, I think there's a lot of great things to do right here in the state of Oklahoma, right here in District 8.
I'm going to go back and say too as well, without knowing exactly what industry or what field he wants to go into, it's kind of hard to tell. but there is plenty areas here, District 8 as well as the state, oil and gas as well as aviation, and then, you know, obviously there's, you know, municipalities that are hiring, so, and, you know, counties and stuff like that. So there's plenty of work here in District 8.
Thank you.
Two of you up there tonight, and we are regurgitating, but I think it's a high priority to most people, are from Henryetta. So let's focus on that area for 1 second. We just put in a quick trip on Highway 75, and it brings in roughly 10 to 12,000 people per day on the asphalt. And then they go right back on I-40, because there's not a lot of things that drive them to Henryetta, and if they go through the town, they don't see anything to keep them there, and they're going on to the next town. Mr. Sanford, you just elaborated to that you have one of the highest paying jobs in Henryetta. So, and I'm not trying to be disparaging, it's a fine place, a fine establishment, and that's something that nobody should look down on, having that job. But if you're wanting to aspire to be a professional, I don't think you're wanting to make pulled pork. That can't be your highest goal. If that's the highest paying job in Henryetta in District 8, what are we going to do to make something better? There's only so many jobs at Anchor.
Right. No, I'm not the highest paying job. I think that I'm right there.
You're up there.
Yeah, I am. I mean, we start at $10 an hour, and a lot of my employees make more than that. And there's nothing wrong with making pulled pork. You have a culinary school right here that they could work with me and get training on every aspect of owning your own restaurant. There's a lot of people that do it and make a good living at it. The ideal is that Quick Trip and even that Casey's, or two Casey's, is we're trying to get them to slow down, to get them to look. I mean, without that Quick Trip, they're blowing right past going to Okmulgee, getting their fuel and spending their money up there. So that slows them down. My restaurant, I mean, we catch people from all over the United States and the world that come and eat with us. As far as Main Street goes, I mean, probably in the last 3 or 4 years, Main Street's coming back alive in Henryetta. It has been dead for a long time, but a lot of small businesses are coming in and starting things. And we have an event going on almost every month in Henryetta that brings people to town. I can't speak for all of the jobs, but I mean, you have to give them a reason to come here, to see that they want to stay here. And we have all of those pieces, and we're in the last 2 years we're starting to put them together and build a community that people want to come to. And like I said, the park, we're building RV sites at the park, and we're putting kayaks in. We're giving people things to do. We have motocross and all that. Main Street's coming back alive, and there's all kinds of boutiques and shops and things to do there. We're getting them to stop, and the deal is, once you got them to stop, and your phone it's your map to the world today. They look in there and they see, what is there to do while I'm here? So Quick Trip has helped us a lot. It has helped me a lot. I have people that I've never seen before in my store every day I'm open because of that store across the street. So it's a benefit to us, and it gets people to stop. And I think it takes time, and we're slowly progressing our town and slowly coming back. I mean, if we'll ever make it back to what we were 30 or 40 years ago, I don't know, but I think we have the potential to grow it and get more people to stop.
Mr. Logan?
So I would say the same thing. You know, interstate travel is a tricky one, because we see it all up and down the interstate, where everybody loves Quick Trip, everybody loves Buc-ee's, and you know, when you have a great convenience store / service station, gas station, you know, people's looking for a convenient place that's easy to park, easy to get in. And I would say the majority of that traffic is just simply that, traveling the interstate. So it's kind of a unfair analysis, as Steve would say, because we all look for those. And nowadays with Google and different maps, you're looking for a convenience. And when you type in gas station, it'll tell you how long it takes you to get off and how long it takes you to get back on. And so we're looking for those big, nice places that has clean restrooms. And so the majority of that traffic is just simply that, interstate travel. And so, yeah, we'll go back to what we said. Once they get off the interstate, you got to have something that attracts them, something that, you know, and obviously beautification, you could go into all that. You know, the town's got to look nice. You got to have something right there off the interstate. Doing a great job. You know, Rustler's is a great place to stop and eat. You know, love the barbecue. So, and again, you got to have something there for them, and that has to come back to the people that was born and raised that wants to keep their business there, start a business there. And
I'm going to say back to tourism. I think if we bring something in, which I don't really have the answer of how to bring them in, but bring in something for tourism to get people to, when they stop, to want to stay, whether it be a small amusement park or something like that in Henryetta. I think that would be I would love to see Henryetta turn into a Branson, Missouri. I would love it, because I think that would actually boost not just Henryetta, but it boost Okmulgee, Okmulgee, all the towns around.
Can you sing, Mr. Brewer?
Do what?
Can you sing?
A little bit.
All right. We may have a plan there.
Okay, so he said we can go ahead and let them do their wrap up, 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, so at this time, we'll give you each 5 minutes. They said, where's that at? For your closing statements. So if you want to start, Nathan, you have the...
Okay. First off, I want to say thank you for everybody here and watching online for coming out or watching tonight on this debate. And I also want to remind everybody to get out and vote on May 13th. Whoever you're voting for, get out and vote, because that is your civic duty, especially with this being a special election. I know a lot of people are going to be, oh, that was yesterday. Oh, that was last week. So I just want to remind everybody to get out and vote on May 13th, whoever you're voting for. And thank y'all for coming tonight.
I want to say thank you as well for the moderators and for the Henryetta and putting it on. Thank you for each and every one that showed up tonight. It'd be a little awkward sitting up here just looking into the mic or looking into these cameras, holding the mic without you here. So thank you. And as he said, be sure to get out and vote. I do have to say this because there is somebody in the crowd. If I don't say this, I'm going to be in trouble. So I forgot to say this about the time I passed the mic off in the 3-minute introduction, so I'm going to give it right now. So besides having 4 small businesses, my background, CBD, I'll get it out here in a minute, Community Development Block Grant, program manager for 6 years, worked in the city of Shawnee, community development for 12 years, and worked for Sac and Fox Housing Authority for 2 years as a building official and also environmental specialist. I forgot to say that earlier, and I was not about to disappoint somebody.
Thank you all for coming. I do appreciate every one of you. As an independent candidate, I think everybody needs to know I don't care about what party you are. I care about you and what I can do to help you. So definitely be sure and get out and vote May 13th. Every vote matters. Everybody counts. And I promise you I'll do the best I can given the opportunity. And the other thing I would add is, as a restaurant owner, it is my job to take care of my customers. And you can go read my reviews. We do everything we can to I want you happy. I want you in my store. It's the same feeling I have for all of you. I want to do good for you. And if you give me the opportunity, I promise you I will.
Thank all 3 of you for coming out tonight, sharing with us. And thank all of you for joining us as well. We appreciate your participating in tonight's forum and sharing your perspectives with all the voters here tonight and online. On behalf of my co-moderator, Amber Lee Mordecai, the Henryetta, the Oklahoma News Leader, and our generous local sponsors, we thank you, the audience, for being part of this most important civic moment, both here and in person and online. Tonight's event was more about just politics. It was about participation. We encourage everyone to take what you just heard this evening and carry it with you, just like Mr. Brewer said, to the ballot box. Election day is Tuesday, May 13th. Make your voice count. We'll now conclude this evening's debate. Thank you again, and good night.
Thank you. you.